Hello, hello, and welcome to Strip Down Sunday. My name's Chris, and we are Soul Evolution Collaborative. We are bringing you your unchurched Sunday experience. So, welcome. We're thrilled to have you. Thanks for being here. We like to offer some inspiration in a new way, and this is what we're doing. So, we just really appreciate you being along for this journey. Now, two quick things to get out of the way before we start. Logistics. So everything you want to know about Soul Evolution Collaborative, what we believe, different ways to get involved, it's all available on our website. So you can go to soulevolutioncollaborative.org. We can put that link in the chat here as well and go find out a little bit more about us. Lots of different stuff to look at on that website. And then our second thing that we'd like to talk to you about is the idea of communities like this with missions like ours, that we are trying to bring change to the world. And we're not doing that because we think the world's a bad place. We're doing it because we love this world and we always like to make it better. So if you resonate with that, and if you are in any way able to contribute and help this mission continue on, we gratefully welcome your support. You can go to soulevolutioncollaborative.org and make a tax-deductible donation. Every single bit is appreciated, and we put it to good use. So thanks for being here. Let's get on with our unchurched Sunday message. So today, the title is There is a Field, and it begins with this quote from Rumi. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. So that's Rumi. He was a 13th century Sufi mystic and one that tapped into that bigger thing. I'm going to talk a little bit about cosmic consciousness and what that is. So really, there's four things that I want to talk about today. One is that field that Rumi is talking about. It's real. The second thing I want to talk about is a little bit of what that means. And three, what that means and how it points us to a way of doing things differently in this world to create different experience in this world for everyone. The fourth thing is that it is using this idea is actually a tool to help get us and others to that experience of that field that Rumi was talking about. And then stick around to the very end because I have something that's going to be fun to finish with. It is when Albert Einstein was asked by people when he would visit the U.S., people would ask him, do you believe in God? And his response, he would always say, I believe in the God of Spinoza. So I'm going to read something from Spinoza, Baruch Spinoza, a 17th century philosopher that will blow your mind. And so let's just get into it. First off, the field is real. So cosmic consciousness, this term was coined around 1901, 1902 by this person named Maurice Burke. I hadn't heard about him until I started researching for this talk today. And after I did, I found him referenced in the Science of Mind text. I found him referenced in a textbook that I'm using for a class that I'm in right now, The Mystic Quest of the Study of Jewish Mysticism. So that's pretty powerful to me when he shows up in three different ways, all in the same day. It was pretty cool. So this person, Maurice Burke, he described it, this event that he had. So let me give just a little bit, this real quick, a description of what cosmic consciousness event is, as it happens like all at once. So this is from Maurice. Now I said Burke, but it's Buck. Maurice Buck. So here's what happened for him after a night with friends discussing poetry and philosophy. He says, my mind, deeply under the influence of the ideas, images, and emotions called up by the reading and talk, was calm and peaceful. I was in a state of quiet, almost passive enjoyment, not actually thinking, but letting ideas, images, and emotions flow of themselves, as it were, through my mind. All at once, without warning of any kind, I found myself wrapped in a flame-colored cloud. For an instant, I thought of fire and immense conflagration somewhere close by in that great city. The next, I knew that the fire was within myself. Directly afterward, there came upon me a sense of exultation, of immense joyousness, accompanied or immediately followed by an intellectual illumination impossible to describe. Among other things, I did not merely come to believe, but I saw that the universe is not composed of dead matter, but is, on the contrary, a living presence. I became conscious in my mind of eternal life. It was not a conviction that I would have eternal life, but a consciousness that I possessed eternal life then. I saw that all people are immortal, that the cosmic order is such that all things work together for the good of each and all, that the foundation principle of the world, of all the worlds, is what we call love, and that the happiness of each and all is in the long run absolutely certain. The vision lasted a few seconds and was gone, but the memory of it and the sense of the reality of what it taught have remained during the quarter of a century which has since elapsed. So it's a great description. It's something that I also had an experience like this over 20 years ago. It's the thing that put me on this path. It's very much how it's described here. Ernest Holmes describes it on page 421 in The Science of Mind. He says, in flashes of illumination, the inspired have seen into the very center of reality. They have been convinced of an immortality now of God as personal to the individual in the inevitable overcoming of all evil by good. In such degree that we become conscious of God, all evil disappears. So for me, the experience that I had, same thing. I was that. I was the universe. I saw the universe. It showed itself to me. It was in me and through me. I could see me and we as one simultaneously. And I knew, one, I could do no wrong. Nobody could do any wrong. I knew that nothing could harm me. And it left me with two distinct impressions when it was time to, when the experience was ending and I was coming back into my regular waking, state of being at that time. It was that we are all one, and two, that love is all that matters. And this love I'm talking about, it's love with a capital L is what I call it. It is bigger than any kind of romantic love, bigger than any love, like unconditional love a parent would have for a child or anything, or like that, love of a pet, whatever. It all pales in comparison. This other love is so beyond, but that is the core of all it is. It's the only thing that matters. So that I want to convince you that it is absolutely real, and it is something that we can work towards. There's people that have all through the years, going back as far as Buddha, the great teachers have talked to us about this. They've pointed us to it. And for me, that's the whole purpose of religion or spiritual practice. If those things are designed to get us to that place, if they're not trying intentionally to get us to that, then I don't think it's worth pursuing personally. This has become, it's my entire mission after that happened, is to continually getting back to that over and over. Now, that idea, when I said that I could do no wrong, Rumi points it out. He says, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. Now, this is where it gets kind of tricky, and almost to where a point of like, one, I know I'm going to not resonate with a lot of fundamentalists or evangelists that believe very strongly in a heaven and a hell, and that's okay. This isn't for everybody. And also a little bit of like a trigger warning. It's hard to tell somebody that there is no wrong when you have experienced wrongs perpetrated onto you. This is the dichotomy of how this all works. We are in this physical experience for a reason. Living in this on earth is very real. It is a very much that we are supposed to experience, and that is how we get to experience the infinite potential of all that is, and then how we make conscious choice and conscious efforts of what it is that we want to create. And so absolutely, while we're here, we do experience right and wrong. And I'm not at all saying that's not the case. I just know that this is a temporary experience. And as we move beyond it, and as we're able to step outside of that and see it for what it is, then a little bit of comfort comes to that we know ultimately that part of me that's infinite can never be harmed at all. Now, that being said, here on this earth, we do have a responsibility to live and experience, to protect ourselves, to protect others. when we have our spiritual path, when we learn to, forgive others, when we learn radical compassion, it doesn't mean that we become a spiritual doormat. The opposite. We have to protect ourselves and protect others. So when somebody commits a heinous act, yes, we can lock them up and incarcerate them for the rest of their life if that's what we need to do in order to protect people. What I'm suggesting is to do it in a way that brings radical compassion. When we see through it, see them as the divine spark of the infinite that they are. We protect ourselves, but at the same time, we understand what they are and where they come from. What came up in this last week, which is always coincidental timing. It's amazing how when I'm working on something like this, the things that show up. So here it is. There was an idea that I just heard, and it was the idea that somebody is walking in the forest and they come upon a dog and they go to approach it and they see this cute dog. But as they do, the dog, bares its teeth and gets vicious and ferocious and snarling. And they're like, oh, what a nasty, mean dog. And then they recognize that the foot is caught in a bear trap. And so then they say, oh, it's injured, it's hurt, it's trapped, and it's afraid. So then all of a sudden there comes that compassion, like, well, it's acting that way because it's injured and trapped. It's the same way that we can take that idea and apply it to that person that we have to incarcerate in order to protect them from themselves, in order to protect us from them. We can do it in a way of compassion to see through that. There's a saying that hurt people hurt people. And if you go and look in prisons and talk to people that have done the worst offenses that I don't even want us to imagine, but that have happened, when we work with them and look at their past and their history, almost all the time they are people who have suffered major traumas in their life. It's hurt, injured, and afraid people that act really the worst. Now, part of what we're working towards in this world is the idea of getting back to that presence, back to that one, to our higher self. And through that, through seeing us as the one, it's easy to see the divine in those people that we love, those people that we get along with, the people that resonate in our ideals. It's a challenge to see it in the people that commit the heinous acts. Or for me, like the work that I've done, I can see it in those people that have done the heinous acts, partly because fortunately I've never experienced a strong trauma like that. So I always like to acknowledge that if you have, I'm not telling you what you need to do. I'm not telling you that you need to forgive. I'm not telling you that you need to see people in this other light. It's not my place to say it. And to be honest, I don't know if I would be able to find this same idea within me if I was one that suffered some of the awful things that happen in this world. So I always like to offer that grain of salt with what I'm saying. And I also know that me being in that position that I'm in of living a pretty blessed life, that this is my job to hold that vision of all people. And like I say, I've gotten to a point to where I am pretty able to see through that hurt and that pain for the people that have done awful things. Where my hang up is and where my continual work is people essentially that have political ideals different than what I believe. That is where I have a challenge and a struggle to see the divine in people that I don't necessarily, I have a harder time seeing them as acting out because they were hurt or injured. It's my hang up there is to get through that with those people, to understand that yes, we are all one. So we can dislike the act that happened, and we need to remember to love the actor, the people. It's all the divine. We teach in the science of mind the idea that it's all one. There's nothing outside of it. And it's all spirit, God, nature, whatever you want to call it, whatever word resonates for you. It's just a word that points to that thing, that there is nothing outside of it. And that means everything that we see, the worst, the good, the bad, the ugly, it is all spirit. So now, as we come to learn how to see that, to recognize everybody for that divine, then that can lead us to how we move forward to really hold to that, to do things differently. Radical compassion is where I feel our biggest shift can come in our society. as we learn to recognize and remember that everyone is the divine, and whatever trick we need to do in our mind to see them as that injured, angry, fearful person, these are things that help us get over that hump. So using this idea. Now, if you are fortunate enough to have a cosmic consciousness moment, then you'll get it. You'll understand. And once you do, once you see it, you can never go back. And so, like, for me, it's been trying to get back to that. And the feeling kind of fades a little. So that's why I still have to do so much work to continually get myself back to this place of seeing the divine in everybody. But as we do it, if this is something, if you would like to experience more of the ineffable, whatever we call God, spirit, there are ways to do it. And this is one of the tools. So learning how to see everybody with compassion from a deeper place is one of the things that gets you closer. We know meditation, contemplation, plant medicine, near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, sometimes severe trauma. All these different things are ways that have opened people up to a cosmic consciousness moment where they get that glimpse for a second that shows them what it is. And there's also people that may not have had that one individual moment like that, but they are constantly tapping into that field, the field that Rumi talked about, and pulling gems back. We see it from amazing artists. I see it in sometimes watching a documentary or a movie, or reading poetry, like Maurice Burke. It was poetry and philosophy that connected him on a deeper level to where that thing came and showed itself to us. So this is a tool. Seeing radical compassion, seeing people with radical compassion is one of the tools that leads us closer to it. And again, this is what I think religion and spiritual practice should be all about, is to deliver an experience of this bigger thing. And here's the thing that shows up again and again. That thing that I am seeking, that thing that many other, if you're listening to this, I'm guessing you're probably seeking as well, at least to some degree. That thing that we are seeking, it is seeking us even more strongly. It is just eager, waiting to pour itself to us, but it requires us to invite it and to want to know it. And so I know for some people that were, raised in very heaven and hell kind of fire and brimstone teachings, that idea of wanting the spirit to show itself to you, it can be scary. I have heard people actually refer to it as, inviting demons. If that's the case and that's where you're at, that's cool. That's your path. And I don't mean to change you off of that. And I respect where you're going. But if you're somebody else that doesn't resonate, that this idea that there is something bigger, I encourage you to ask it. Ask it, show itself to me. One of the spiritual practices, the person that designed the idea for this global theme for Centers for Spiritual Living, had a spiritual practice in there that I want to modify just a little. And the idea is, this week, when you get feeling animosity towards somebody or something, take a second and sit down, close your eyes and breathe. And then bringing that person or that event to your mind, envision yourself going up higher, going to the mountain. We use that description a lot in the metaphysical interpretation of the Bible, that draw your awareness and consciousness visually in your mind. Imagine it going up higher into a place, and hold that person and say, what is the higher vision of this person or this event? How do I see that? And ask this, whatever you want to call this thing, spirit, God, nature, the infinite, whatever you want to call it, ask it to come show you, to lift you up to that place, to see this from a different perspective, and just sit there, up to 5-10 minutes, and just see what shifts for you. It's a powerful, powerful tool. So this is really the way going forward, is to own that you are the divine, that the divine is flowing through you. And as we see beyond right and wrong, know that you are safe and protected. I know when I've talked to people in the past that there really is, you can really not get it wrong. People have said, well, then if that's the case, then if everybody believed that, then people would just be out murdering and doing all sorts of horrible things. But ask yourself, if that was true, is it really only the fear of heaven that keeps you from doing awful things and causing major pain to people and families and friends? Is it really just the fear of an eternal damnation that prevents you from doing it? Or is there something deeper within you that lets you know what is going to feel good for you and what's going to feel bad for you? We do create heaven and hell. Heaven is a state of mind that we can get ourselves into. It's a state of consciousness, and so is hell. And when we do things that aren't in alignment with what our higher self knows, that's when our guilty conscious rises up, and it'll cause us an experience in the here and now that can very much feel awful, like we would imagine hell to be. So neither hell nor heaven is a tangible place we go to. They're a state of mind created by ourselves. And that's pretty cool to me. And it's really where we're heading, is you leaning into this consciousness, into this field, knowing that we really are creators of our experience. And the thing is, when you have this experience, people get the idea that we become less than. If you feel like you're one with it all, that you're losing part of yourself. But it's so much the opposite. When you realize that you are one with all of this, everything is bigger, everything is more vivid, everything, the diversity, the color, just the full variety of living just gets enhanced bigger and bigger. All right. So thank you for listening to that. I'm going to finish with this Spinoza. So this is what, when people would ask Albert Einstein, do you believe in God? This is how he would respond. Well, or what he at least pointed people to. He said, I believe in the God of Spinoza. So here this is. This is from Baruch Spinoza, a philosopher from the 17th century. And he said, this is what God would have said. Stop praying and giving yourselves blows on your chest. What I want you to do is go out into the world to enjoy your life. I want you to enjoy, you sing, have fun, and enjoy everything I've done for you. Stop going to those gloomy, dark, and cold temples that you built yourself and that you call my home. My house is in the mountains, in the forests, the rivers, the lakes, the beaches. That's where I live and express all my love for you. Stop blaming me for your miserable life. I never told you that you were a sinner. Stop being so scared. I do not judge you, nor criticize you, nor ever is angry with you. Nothing bothers me, nor do I devise punishment. I am pure love. Stop asking me for forgiveness. There's nothing to forgive. If I made you, I filled you with passions, limitations, pleasures, feelings, needs, inconsistencies of free will. How can I blame you if you do or say something out of that which I put in you? How can I punish you for being as you are if I'm the one who made you? Do you think I could create a place to burn all my children who misbehave for the rest of eternity? What kind of God can do that? Forget about any kind of commandments, any kind of laws. Those are wiles to manipulate you, to control you, and only to create guilt in you. Respect your peers and don't do to others what you don't want for you. The only thing I ask is that you pay attention in your life, that your alert status is your guide. This life is the only thing there is, here and now, and the only thing you need. I have made you absolutely free. There are no prizes or punishments. There are no sins or virtues. No one carries a marker. No one carries a record. You are absolutely free to create in your life a heaven or hell. I couldn't tell you if there's anything after this life, but I can give you a tip. Live as if there wasn't, as if this was your only chance to enjoy, to love, to exist. So if there is nothing, then you will have enjoyed the opportunity I gave you. And if there is, be sure that I will not ask you if you behaved well or not. I will ask you, did you like it? Did you have fun? What did you enjoy the most? What did you learn? Stop believing in me. To believe is to assume, guess, imagine. I don't want you to believe in me. I want you to feel me when you kiss your beloved, when you play with your little girl, when you love your dog, when you bathe in the sea. Stop praising me. What kind of egotistical God do you think I am? I'm bored of your praise. I'm fed up with thanks. Do you feel grateful? Prove it by taking care of yourself, your health, your relationships, the world around you. Do you feel overwhelmed? Express your joy. That's the way to praise me. The only thing sure is that you are here, that you are alive, that this world is full of wonders. What do you need more miracles for? Why so many explanations? Don't look for me outside. You won't find me. Find me inside. There, I'm beating in you. So that's from Spinoza, who Einstein's referenced every time anybody asked him if he believed in God. So I hope that you resonate with some of that. It's hard to kind of get through here in that quick of time, but I encourage you to keep seeking on that path. That which you seek wants to come to you. It wants to show yourself to you. And everything that we do, every practice takes us just one step closer. And that is how we make the world a better place. It all starts within the things we think about, the way we act, the way we show up. So I hope that this helps you in some way to see that infinite in everybody. It's all around us. So thanks for listening. Have a wonderful week and be well.